Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to go over update 0.5.6 and update 0.5.6.1. And the first thing I want to talk about are two improvements that fix some issues that I frequently had with the old version of the game. So the first thing is, if you use the insert key when you're upside down in the old version of the game, you would still be upside down, and if you did like a really long roll, sometimes it would be kind of annoying to get your car upright. Now, if you click the insert key, the game is able to tell, oh, your car's upside down, let me put it upright for you so you can keep driving. But it doesn't make it where it's always upright, because if you're at like an angle, like, let's see if we can find one that's at an angle and not just straight upside down. So like right there, it was at an angle, and the game was able to say, you know what, the car will still land on its wheels, so we'll keep that angle. It only flips it upright if it's not going to be able to land on its wheels. The other new improvement is the way the node grabbing works. Now before, if you wanted to grab a node, you would hold control, click a node, and whenever you try to move it around, the camera would go with the node and it would be total chaos. Now when you grab one, the camera will lock in place, so it's much easier to move the car around without having the camera freaking out and going all over the place. And you can also still move the camera too if you use the right click on your mouse, so it's kind of the best solution to me in terms of how that should work. And now we're just kind of flinging this thing around like a top, utterly destroying it. Ha! Yeah, that's not going to drive at all. That is absolutely ruined. I'm surprised the engine still runs after all that. Now let's take a look at the new car, which is the ETK K-Series. And we're going to start off by spawning the KC6T, just because that's the one the game chooses by default. So I like to think that that is the one the developers feel is the best representation of what that vehicle is. So this thing is a two-door, two-seater luxury sports car. And I say luxury sports car just because the suspension feels a little bit softer than like a true sports car, and the interior is more fancy versus lightweight and sport-oriented. That's not to say it's a slow car, it's still a sports car. Luxury sports car, that's all. So we're already up to about 100 miles per hour if I didn't just tap the dirt right there. Although we're gonna have to slow down right here around this corner so we don't crash into anything. Perfect, almost stayed on my side of the road. Just a little bit on the wrong side of the road. And you'll see, going on this long straightaway right here, this thing will be able to get up to about 140 miles per hour, I would think. And you notice it is a 6-cylinder turbocharged engine in this configuration. Speaking of new turbochargers, over there on the right side of the screen, you now have a boost gauge that tells you how many bars of boost you're running on your car at any time. And then on this map for Utah, there's been a change to it. Now that tunnel, which used to just be a dead end up there, is actually a tunnel. It's kind of plain and there's not much in it, but it's nice to have a real tunnel instead of a dead end. So we'll go ahead and drive through the tunnel. There's a huge straightaway on this thing, which will take a while to get through. And I really wish I had something to talk about, although actually I do have a few things. So right here on the back of this car, you can see it has a license plate for Utah. That license plate is actually available on all vehicles, and it's like a moddable license plate, so you can have, I think it simplifies license plate creation to make it where it can fit on any vehicle even easier than before. There are also some preset license plates that come with the game, which we'll be taking a look at in a minute. If you wanted to, you could actually remove the ABS from this car, and in fact, you can remove ABS from any car that comes equipped with ABS by default. So like right there, there is the ABS doing its job, making sure we're not skidding, even though I was slamming on the brake right there because there is a tight corner right there. Nice and easy around that corner. And the whole electronic stability control systems have actually been reworked to be a lot better. I didn't really do a comparison between the two, but the way it feels right now, it does a really good job of making sure you stay out of trouble. Like, I can swerve this thing all about, and it's stability control saving me. Like, I'm being dumb, and stability control says no being dumb. And then we're out of the tunnel, and we're actually at the same exact road, just a little bit different of a position on it. So if we follow this road along for a little bit, we'll get to the tunnel once again. And I could show you that because it's actually, it seems like it's shorter driving on this road than in the tunnel. It might just be because there's more curves to it and more to do, I don't know. But there is the tunnel, you can just barely see it. And we're going to slam into this thing so hard, we're going to go no brakes on this thing so you can see this car in a pretty good crash. Actually, that crash didn't do nearly as much damage as I expected. I kind of just glided off the rail and really did minimal damage to the body. Tons of damage to the suspension, though. That is basically ruined the suspension. But body, overall, isn't that bad for 150 miles per hour on impact. And you might have noticed the new camera angle that was available while we were cycling through the cameras. That was the relative camera, and this one's pretty interesting because you could place it anywhere you want and it'll stay in that position relative to the car. So let's say, for example, you wanted a camera that was in the passenger seat. So you just put the camera right there, and then it's just like you're in the passenger seat of the car as you drive it around. You can also still move the camera around left and right to look around, and then if you wanted to, you could actually change how zoomed in the camera is. So you could zoom it in a bunch like this, like you're a passenger wearing binoculars, or you could zoom it out a ton like you're a passenger wearing a fisheyes lens or something like that. And then this just looks absolutely ridiculous as you try to drive it. But one thing that's really fun to do is when you put a huge fisheye on something and then you kind of put it to behind the car like so. First off, you get a car that looks like it has a trunk a mile long. And secondly, it looks like you're going stupid fast when you're only going 30 miles per hour. Like, it looks like we're just going 70 miles per hour, right? No, about 30. It's like, it's funny how the fisheye just messes with your mind like that, so it makes everything feel way faster than it really is. Like, this is about highway speeds. Highways don't feel this fast, ever, because you don't see in a fisheye in real life. But it makes you look like a really good driver because you can go around corners at really safe speeds, and it looks like you're just super pushing the limit on things. Like it looks like I am just doing amazing right here, like pushing to the limit. I'm not. I'm cruising right there. Whoa! Okay, it is disorientating just to drive it though like that. And then another thing you could do with this though is, let's say you're one of those people who makes those videos where it's just crashing over and 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 over again. Just crashing and crashing and crashing. You can put the camera angle like this, and then when you crash into something, it'll just hold that angle, which could be useful for those kinds of videos, if you make those. Enough of that, let's take a look at the new menu system. So now there's a little menu right here that you can control using the controller. So you could go ahead and select vehicle control. You could turn on the fog lights, hazard lights, headlights, light bar, parking brake, all from this menu. And since I don't know the button to control the hazards from the top of my head, we could just click it like that, and you see hazard lights are on. You also have the ability to bring up the configurations, but there's no way to select a configuration using just the controller. You'll have to use a mouse to actually select it. And then you could also quit out of the game using this menu. Thankfully, there's a yes and no here, so if you accidentally click it, you have to accidentally click twice to actually close the game. So that's a nice little thing I like right there, because it would suck if I'm trying to click on something like I want to do relative camera and then it slips and hits quit. Yeah, that would really, really suck. But thankfully, they thought of that and said, let's put a confirmation in there just so you don't accidentally do that. Anyways, let's do one last crash with this car and then we'll do something else, because we haven't had a real head-on impact with it yet, but now we have, and it's a little hard to see because of the tree. You can see though, overall it held up pretty nicely, and I just thought about it. A lot of modern cars have the feature where in case of an impact, the hazard lights will go on automatically. I haven't seen that in BeamNG.drive yet. I wonder if they'll ever add that feature. Anyways, let's go ahead and reset this guy. And now we can take a look at the new apps. So we're going to hit escape, go to the apps menu. If you don't have this, you got to enable advanced settings from the options menu. And then we're going to go and add the vehicle damage app. And you'll notice when you place this, there's now a little indicator that tells you what position it's being placed at with those numbers. And then it also kind of locks onto positions a little bit more fluidly than before. So it's a little bit easier to place it where you want it. We're going to just place it right there. And then we're also going to place the detailed vehicle damage app right above that. And these are pretty different apps in terms of how you would use them. The detailed one is actually basically just a representation of the J-beam structure from above, where the other one is more of the kind of thing you would find in a video game that tells you how damaged your car is in a game. So they just have two different applications, but I can show them both off at the same time. So we'll start off by just driving into a wall at about 100 miles per hour, and you can see what both of the apps do when you do that. So right now, car is perfectly fine. Upper app, everything's white. Lower one, everything's green. Hit this wall at about 100 miles per hour, and you'll see the upper app, it shows all the deformings in the J-beam structure. So it's basically the same as if you hit the deformation on this and then kind of displayed it from above, basically. But it also has some color indicators to tell you how deformed it is. At least I think it's based off of deformation. I'm not 100% there. And then the lower one, it's very similar to what you would find in like a a destruction derby style video game where it says, you know, your driveline's broke, your engine's broke, your radiator's broke, your front sides are both damaged, but your wheels are good, your axles are good, and your fuel tank's good. And now we're going to pull up an app you have seen before. That is the AI control app, because there's a new feature in that. Well, it's an old feature that has made its return. So we'll just grab the AI control, place it over here. And then if we go to the AI menu, well, first, actually, let's spawn up 2 cars. We'll get one as the slow ETK K series. That'll be me. And the red car will be controlled by the AI. So I'm just going to go ahead and position myself in an angle where I can escape from them, because the AI can now once again chase you. The game had this ability for a long time, but then it was removed. But now it's once again back. So if we just start driving away, the AI should follow us, and we could try to lose them. And it shouldn't be too hard, because the AI will do really dumb things in their attempts to hit you. Like if I go slow through this corner like that, they'll probably fly off the road. Yep, pretty much exactly as I called it. And you know, if I actually wanted to, we could put the AI to random, and that is basically just watching. Like, I don't have to do anything. I just watch the 2 AI cars fight each other. Like, this is as easy as it gets. Plus, you can get kind of cool camera angles like that, where one car is chasing the other one and you don't have to see where it's going. You can just focus on what the chase is doing. And I like this because I literally have to do nothing in terms of driving. It's just watching. Woo! And the red one's getting them. Like, this no lie is actually pretty cool. Just watching. It's like a movie. But I could influence if I really felt like it. Normal movies, you can't influence it at all. What are you doing? Oh, you idiot. You complete and utter idiot. Why would you stop there? Oh, it was a trick. It was a long con kind of deal. He knew he'd get hit hard for that, but then the red car got himself totally stuck. Anyways, there's also something about being able to manually choose a destination. I haven't actually played with that yet, and I couldn't quite figure out how it works. So I'm not going to go into it, but you can choose a destination for the AI, and they will drive to it, apparently. I just got to figure out how it works. So anyways, let's go ahead and bring this car back to spawn. Stop driving. You're disabled. You don't need to drive anymore. And then bring the other one back over here as well, but we'll have to disable them first, although they've disabled themselves in a way. Although, hey, they're driving now. Stop that. And now we're going to be taking a look at some vehicle-specific changes. As usual, we'll start with the first car on the list, which is the Barstow. And for this one, you now have the ability to remove the interior door panels if you wanted to. So that's this area right there. If we open up all of this to the door and then say goodbye door panel, you just have raw metal right there now. If you wanted to do that, which would work great for like a destruction derby style car, because weight just slows you down and does nothing, although it would be a lot nicer to hit your head on the soft interior versus the hard metal. But then again, you'd be wearing a helmet, so you wouldn't really notice it anyways, probably. Next car up is the Burnside, and there were no significant changes for this vehicle that I feel like mentioning. For the 200BX, the drift version, the rear tires would sometimes explode. Now they're less likely to explode while drifting. Now I'm definitely not going to be able to demonstrate that to you since they're made not to explode. But you see, look, no explosions. Ta-da! Even though they never exploded on me before, apparently that was an issue for some people because they do some extreme drifting that I'm not capable of. Heck, even hitting that rock right there didn't blow them up. Next car up is the ETK 800 series. That one had its name changed on the police version. Then next one up, the Grand Marshal. No major changes to that one I'm going to go over. Corvette had a change to the way the body kit side skirts work so they don't collide into themselves as they used to. Also, for any car that has hubcaps, and this is one of them but not the version we grabbed, there are some new hubcaps you could choose from. So if we go to the body, front suspension, rear wheel hub, rear wheels, and then hubcaps, you have 3 new ones, the Car Plus ones. So you have the A11s, then you have the C55s, and then you have the CS11 hubcaps. Those are all new hubcaps, and with them being hubcaps, you should be able to make them fly off. Or just fling the car into the air. I mean, they flew off. Definitely. We just destroyed the whole rear suspension in the process, that's all. Next up is the Pessima. No major changes there. Miramar, there's been a few changes to the strength of it. The front has been strengthened, and then the roll cage has been strengthened as well. Moonhawk, it has the same thing that I showed you in the Barstow where you can remove the interior. The old Pessima had some improvements to the rear bumper, so it's a little less likely to be glitchy in a collision. The Pigeon had a lot of changes to the suspension. The whole front suspension was reworked, and then the rear suspension is now using an improved version of the leaf springs suspension setup that the game uses. So overall, it's a whole new setup for this car. It doesn't feel like it drives too significantly different, but driving them back to back, it does feel like this one's more like practical. You can still roll it over, no problem, but it feels like you have to try just a tad harder to get it roll over. And I could just be imagining that, though. It's such a minor change, it's really hard to say for certain. But I assume overall it should also help for like the way the car suspension deforms as well. And when the suspension is damaged, the way the car performs should be improved, I would expect. I'm not going to test that, but we will wreck it. Well, actually, hey, look at this. Will it drive? Oh, it actually will. Normally, it wouldn't have been able to do that. And we actually could still steer left and right pretty reasonably. I'm pretty sure normally that would have really ruined the front suspension, so it might be a little bit more durable. Next up is the SBR4. No significant changes to that. The Sunburst wheels are a little bit stronger connected to the vehicle, and that's about it. The Bolide has a bunch of suspension improvements that makes it handle a little bit better. The D Series, Roamer, and 8 Series all have their off-road suspensions improved to be better for jumping, so the suspension doesn't kind of glitch out after a jump. And the T Series had the license plate frame removed on some of its variants. And speaking of license plate, let me show you all of the different license plates that come with the game. So first up, the Utah one, which you've already saw before. Then you also have the Hawaii one. It takes them a second to load up, so just gotta wait a second. Then you have the Maine one. They're all a little bit different in their design. So that one we got lobster. See, I really wonder about living in a place like Maine. Like, is lobster like the equivalent of hamburger meat there? Like, it's just like whatever after you have so much lobster, you know? It's just like, yeah, it's meat. So anyways, I kind of just went through Texas because it's a little plain. Then you have virtual reality one as well. And you'll notice, if I remember correctly, the actual license plate lettering is different on some vehicles, and I'm not exactly sure what determines that. Like this one right here, CXM6069 AAM5100, which is the same we saw in the Sunburst. Pessima right here, what does this one say? Come on. AIM5100. I don't know if the numbers represent anything or not, but it is worth mentioning that some cars have different numbers. Now, another thing is if you puncture the fuel tank, which is actually pretty hard to do, the game will notify you that your fuel tank has been punctured. I would try to do it here with precision, but that's probably not going to work. But if we do it with maximum violence, I'm sure we could get it to happen. Fuel tank ruptured. There we go. Maximum violence is a great solution for a problem like that. And then one last thing is when you are looking at the menus, so like if you're in the map selector, you'll notice some of them have a little BeamNG.drive icon. That means it's an official map. Some of them don't. That means it's an unofficial map, and it does that for both cars and maps. And that covers just about everything I wanted to say. As always, if you want a full changelog, do check out the changelog listed on the BeamNG.drive blog, because I only cover new features and improvements that personally affected me. There are a bunch of bug fixes that I never experienced personally, and some where I've experienced it once and I don't even mention it. So definitely check that out for a full list of changes. And otherwise, till next time, this is WhyBeAre. I'll see ya.